Known for their unique style that blends tight family harmony with their acoustic instruments, the Isaacs, Lily, Ben, Sonia, and Rebecca, through their own trials, have encouraged millions through their faith in music. With 7 Dove Awards, several Grammy nominations, the Isaacs are frequent guests at the Grand Ole Opry and are popular artists on the Gaither Homecoming videos. This is their story of unshakable faith. This is today's life. Becky, you all are so busy. You've been touring, you've been in the studio, you've been traveling. You know, take me back a little bit when you got involved in the group and what inspired you?
Well, you're exactly right. We have been super busy. I can't recall a time where we've been busier. It seems like in the last, 3 or 4 months, I've slept in my own bed about 6 nights. So it's been busy, and we're touring, and not only touring 3 and 4 days a week, but we're also making records and playing the Grand Ole Opry and doing different things that require midweek services. So it is a busy time, but we're blessed. I am 43, and so I started in the family as soon as I could talk, pretty much. When Mom and Dad discovered, which you may hear the same stories from all 3 of us because, we grew up in the same home. But by the time our parents discovered that we could sing, which was probably 3 and 4, we were in perfect harmony. And so I'm the baby. So my sister's a year older. My brother's 2 years older than Sonia, so he's 3 years older than me. And we were singing in full, perfect 3-part harmony by the time we were 3 and 4. And so as soon as they realized that we could sing, immediately we started filling positions. And by the time my sister was 9, she was on the guitar. By the time I was 11, I was playing mandolin, and then Sonia was on mandolin, and then by 11 I was on guitar, and Ben about 14 on the upright bass. And it's just been our life. We just
I've heard you, and I just love your music.
Thank you so much.
I do have to ask you this. What is it like to walk on the stage of the Grand Ole Opry?
It's very intimidating. When it's over, now everybody's experience is different, and you're going to find in this interview I'm a little bit more of an anxious person. So for me, it's when it's over that I was like, oh, that was awesome.
So do you really get nervous?
I do. I get nervous over every performance. It doesn't matter the crowd size or it usually depends upon my environment for me. But yeah, I get very nervous. And so when the Grand Ole Opry is over, then I'm like, oh, that was awesome. But in the moment, it's all about, okay, do good, don't mess up.
But you have your family members around you.
And that
so
helps.
It kind of gives you a little bit of
It really does. I would definitely not want to pursue a solo career like others. Unless God really made me do that. But it's comforting to have your family there and to know that they've got your back. And
well, you went through a trial several years ago, and I think all of you have faced those trials in your life. But tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I think that I'll start out by saying that the only difference between my family and whoever's watching is that we're actually behind the microphone. Our families live through the same thing that all the viewers are experiencing, and the pedestal that we're put on is sometimes just one of those things where they think that maybe we live in a different world, but the truth is that we all experience different things and can relate to them because we're all going through something. And for me, in the year of 2000, I woke up and everything in my body had begun to shut down. And I went from doctor to doctor, and finally I made it to the Mayo Clinic, where they then diagnosed me with a very rare form of Crohn's disease, because not only was my digestive system completely out of whack, but all of the nerve endings from my head to my feet were severely inflamed. And the doctor said I would probably go blind in both of my eyes by the time I lived to be older. And so I never really had just the basic Crohn's. It started in the small bowel, eventually going to the large bowel. And by the year of 2011, I had ulcers in the colon. I was on a chemotherapy injection for 6 years. I was on a Humira injection. I was on 20 different pills to stay alive. And I really didn't think I would live to see 40 or 50. So it was challenging all of those years. All the while we're traveling by plane and bus, 200 shows a year. And that's definitely where you see God's faith. His grace is sufficient, because he always gave me what I needed to get on stage, but getting to that stage was the challenge for me every morning, getting out of bed and dealing with such a physical, my nerve endings would burn so bad. Like if I would get out of the shower, my skin would burn so bad for hours that I would almost have to just sponge bath 2 and 3 days at a time because it wasn't worth the pain. Wow. And so on the year of 2011, I took a step of faith I've never taken before. And I found myself, after trying everything on the market, by the time I found this place in 2011, I was on the very last medication Mayo Clinic said was available for my condition. I found myself in a holistic clinic called Internal Balance in Brentwood, Tennessee. And it began a step of faith for me because that's when I began to realize that, that there's more than one way to bake a cake. There's more than one way to get better. And in 2011 was the last, February 22nd of 2011 is the last day I took any medication for my condition. In the last 8 years, I've been walking in healing, which has become my testimony because in John 9, we read of Jesus passing by a blind man and he spits on the ground and he takes the clay and he puts it into the blind man's eyes and he tells him to go to the pool and wash. And I love that story because this blind man does receive a miracle, but it wasn't until I was desperate for God to heal my body that I realized at the moment that Jesus touched the blind man, he didn't receive his sight. You see, he had to walk by faith and not by sight. And nowhere in the Bible do we read how long it took the blind man to go from the temple gate where Jesus was to the pool. But commentaries have said that the closest pool from the temple gate where Jesus would have been and these miracles would have taken place was a half of a mile or longer. And so we know that the blind man walked by faith and not by sight. And so it became my theme in 2011 when I walked into this holistic clinic. I didn't get healed instantly. It's been a process for me over the past 8 years of regaining and taking back everything that had been taken from me. But I stand here 8 years later, 100% well and no longer medically dependent. I can take normal showers. I'm the only one in my family that still has 20/20 vision. And I'm holding on to that. Age is starting to catch up. But I no longer have ulcers in the large bowel, the small bowel. I'm just walking in complete health and wholeness. And you know, the amazing part of that is all those years I developed such anxiety and forms of depression, but mostly anxiety, stage fright, because the medicines were just weighing so heavy on me. I was so fatigued all the time. And now in the past 8 years, I've just been walking in this whole new liberation and freedom of this is what life is all about, you know, and I'm really living life for the first time.
You know, I cannot wait to see what God is going to do for the rest of, you know, your career, and because you are just impacting so many lives. And I just want to thank you so much for being here and sharing your story.
Absolutely.
My friend, are you going through a trial in your life? And I want you to know that Jesus tells us that we will face many trials, but they are not to break us, but to empower us so that we can share our stories of unshakable faith with others that will give Him honor and glory. This is today's life. Thanks for watching.